There is one rule Machiavelli never had to write down, because everyone who actually understood power already knew it. It's the same rule that decides who gets rich and who stays broke, who gets betrayed and who never sees it coming, who gets remembered and who gets erased. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Most people go their entire life without learning this rule, not because it's hidden, because it's uncomfortable. Today, you learn it. Machiavelli didn't write The Prince to teach cruelty. He wrote it because he watched good men lose everything, and cruel men keep it, and he wanted to know why. What he found wasn't complicated. It was just unbearable to say out loud. Here it is. Reality is negotiable. Perception is not. Everything you're about to hear, money, power, loyalty, enemies, silence, patience, is the same rule wearing 6 different masks. By the end of this video, you'll see all 6, and you'll never look at the people around you the same way again. Stay until the end, because Rule 4 is the one that breaks most people's entire worldview. Money doesn't follow effort, it follows belief. Not your belief, everyone else's belief about you. Picture 2, men opening identical shops on the same street, selling the same product at the same price. One works 12 hours a day, keeps his head down, and prices everything fairly, hoping the quality speaks for itself. The other works 8 hours, spends 4 of them making sure everyone in town believes his shop is the one worth walking past 3 others to reach. In 6 months, the second man owns the first man's shop. This isn't a story about marketing. It's a story about a rule most people refuse to accept. Capital follows conviction, and conviction is manufactured, not earned. The market does not reward the best product. It rewards the product it believes is best. Machiavelli understood this 500 years before anyone called it branding. A prince, he said, need not actually possess every virtue, but must always appear to. The uncomfortable part isn't that this works. The uncomfortable part is how well it works on people who think they're too smart to fall for it. So the first application of the rule is simple. Stop trying to be undeniable. Start making sure you're perceived as undeniable. The world pays the invoice it believes in, not the one that's true. You've seen this play out even in your own life, whether you noticed it or not. The friend who's greet with money and gets asked for investment advice at every dinner often isn't outperforming anyone. They're just the loudest about the one good year they had, and silent about the 3 bad ones. Nobody audits belief, they just adopt it. This is the part people mistake for dishonesty. It isn't. Machiavelli never said lie about your results. He said, stop assuming your results will speak for themselves in a world too distracted to listen. If you don't control the story, someone less qualified and louder will control it for you, and they'll be the one holding the capital by the end of the year. But money is the easy version of this rule. Power is where it gets dangerous. Here is something almost nobody tells you about power. It is never taken by the person who wants it most. It's taken by the person the room believes deserves it least resistance. Machiavelli's most famous, most misunderstood line isn't about cruelty. It's about a choice almost no one is willing to make honestly, whether it is safer to be loved or safer to be feared. He didn't say choose fear because it feels good. He said, choose it because love is a debt people can refuse to pay the moment it's inconvenient, while fear collects itself. Think about the last time someone in a position of power lost everything overnight. It was rarely because people stopped respecting their skill. It was because they stopped being afraid of the consequences of crossing them. And the moment fear left the room, so did the power. This is not a permission slip to be cruel. It's a warning. Power that depends entirely on being liked is power that can be revoked by a group chat. The people who keep power longest aren't the ones everyone loves. They're the ones nobody wants to test. Look at any organization that quietly falls apart. The moment its leader softens, it's rarely a sudden collapse. It's a slow erosion, a missed deadline that goes unaddressed, A boundary that gets crossed without consequence. A rule that applies to everyone, except the one person willing to ignore it. Each small test that goes unanswered teaches the room a lesson. This person's authority is optional, and once authority becomes optional, it's already gone. The title just hasn't caught up yet. This is why Machiavelli insisted a leader's reputation for resolve matters more than any single decision. It isn't about winning every confrontation. It's about making sure people never think to start one. Now, here's where it gets uncomfortable, because the next rule isn't about strangers. It's about the people closest to you. And if you've ever wondered why the person you trusted most was the one who hurt you worst, Application 3 is going to answer that question whether you're ready for it or not. Loyalty is not a virtue. It's a transaction that hasn't been renegotiated yet. This sounds cynical until you watch it happen in real time. The business partner who was like family for a decade until the exit was more profitable than the friendship. The employee who would take a bullet for the company until a better offer landed in their inbox. Machiavelli didn't invent this behavior. He just refused to pretend it wasn't the default. His advice wasn't trust no one. It was sharper than that. Build loyalty on shared interest, not shared feeling. Because feelings expire and interests compound. The prince who was loved for who he was lost his throne. The prince who was needed for what he provided kept his. So the third application of the rule is this. Stop asking, do they like me? That question has never protected anyone. Start asking, what do they need from me that they can't get anywhere else? That answer is the only loyalty that survives a bad year. This doesn't mean stop caring about people. It means stop being surprised when caring. By itself isn't enough to keep them in your corner during the moment. It actually costs them something to stay. The people who last aren't the ones who felt the most affection for you. They're the ones whose interests stayed tangled up with yours long after the feeling would have faded on its own. This is the one that breaks people. So pay attention. The instinct, when someone wrongs you, is to destroy them completely or to forgive them completely. Machiavelli rejected both. Half measures, he warned, are the most dangerous choice you can make, because an enemy you've wounded but not finished has every reason left to finish you first. Most people don't lose to their enemies. They lose to the version of their enemy they left standing out of guilt, or fear of looking cruel, or the hope that mercy would be remembered. It rarely is. What's remembered is that you had the chance to end the threat, and you didn't. This doesn't mean become ruthless for its own sake. It means understand that mercy given to someone who still has the motive and the means to hurt you isn't kindness. It's a debt you're leaving for your future self to pay, usually with interest. Decide fully, forgive fully, and mean it, or resolve the conflict fully, and mean that too. The middle path, the one where you neither trust them nor confront them, is the only option Machiavelli said guarantees you lose. Think about how much energy gets wasted in that middle path. The unread text you keep rereading. The relationship you haven't ended but haven't repaired either. The business deal you know is bad but haven't walked away from because walking away feels dramatic. Every day spent undecided is a day the threat gets to keep operating at full strength while you operate at half. Be honest with yourself for a second. Is there someone in your life right now you've left in that middle path? Not forgiven, not confronted, just quietly resented while you both pretend nothing happened. Every piece of information you give away is a piece of leverage you no longer own. Watch how differently two people move through a room. One explains everything, their plans, their doubts, their next move, because silence feels rude, or worse, feels like hiding something. The other says almost nothing, and somehow ends up controlling every conversation they're in. The second person isn't smarter. They just understand something the first one hasn't learned yet. The less predictable you are, the more power you keep. Machiavelli's princes didn't announce their intentions. They let the outcome announce it for them, because an enemy who cannot predict you cannot prepare for you. This is the application most people resist, because we're taught that openness is honesty, and honesty is good, and it is with people who've earned it. But broadcasting your next move to everyone, including people with no stake in your success, isn't honesty. It's just handing out a map to anyone who might want to slow you down. Say less. Let your results do the explaining. By the time people understand your plan, you should already be finished executing it. Notice how often the loudest person in the planning stage is the quietest person once it's time to actually deliver. That's not a coincidence. Talking about the plan releases some of the same satisfaction as completing it, which means the more you talk, the less urgency you feel to finish. Silence isn't just protection from your enemies, it's protection from your own tendency to mistake announcing a goal for achieving one. The final application is the quietest and the hardest to sell, because it doesn't feel like power at all. It feels like waiting. Every rule so far, perception, fear, interest, decisive endings, silence, means nothing without the discipline to hold your position while everyone around you panics into a mistake. Machiavelli watched empires fall, not because their enemies were brilliant, but because their rulers reacted too fast, moved too early, or couldn't tolerate the discomfort of doing nothing while the timing wasn't right. The person who wins the room is rarely the one who reacts first. It's the one who can sit inside tension without needing to resolve it immediately. This is the hardest rule to practice because it offers no immediate reward. Perception can be tested today. Fear can be confirmed in a single conversation. But patience only proves itself in hindsight. Months later, when the version of you that didn't panic is the only version still standing. Everyone else who couldn't tolerate the silence, who needed an answer right now, who moved before the timing was right. They're the ones explaining what went wrong. You're the one explaining what you built. This is the rule underneath the rule. Perception, fear, leverage, decisive action, silence. All of it collapses the moment you're too impatient to let it work. So here is the rule, stated once, plainly, the way it should have been said from the start. People don't respond to what's true. They respond to what they believe, what they need, what they fear losing, and what they don't yet understand. Money, power, loyalty, enemies, silence, patience. 6 doors, 1 house. Out of the 6, which one are you weakest in? Most people already know the answer before I finish the question. Type it in the comments. Money, power, loyalty, enemies, silence, or patience. I read everyone, and in a future video, I'm going to break down whichever rule gets mentioned the most. If this changed how you're going to walk into your next conversation, your next negotiation, your next relationship, that's the entire point. Not to make you cold, to make you aware, in a world that profits from you staying unaware. Subscribe if you want the rest of what Machiavelli never got to finish, because this channel exists for exactly one reason, to say the uncomfortable part out loud, so you don't have to learn it the hard way. And if you want to see exactly how Rule 5, silence, separates the people who actually build power from the people who just talk about it, the next video is already waiting for you. Watch that one next. One last thing before you go. None of these 6 rules work in isolation. The person who masters silence but ignores patience will stay quiet, right up until the moment they panic, and undo months of discipline in a single impulsive move. The person who understands fear but never builds real interest-based loyalty will hold power for a season and lose it the first time they need someone to actually show up for them. The rule only works as a whole system, which is exactly why almost no one runs it correctly, and exactly why the few who do end up so far ahead of everyone else. It stops looking like skill and starts looking like luck. It was never luck. It was a rule, followed consistently by someone who was willing to see the world as it actually operates, instead of how they wished it operated. That willingness is the only real advantage anyone in this video has ever had over you. It's available to you starting now.